All right, moving along, we have more censorship plans, surprise, surprise, coming from the Justin Trudeau Liberals. So this particular article comes from Blacklocks. It is titled Fed Censor Bill by Year's End. Cabinet will attempt to reintroduce an internet censorship bill by the year's end. Heritage Minister Pablo Rodriguez yesterday told the Commons Heritage Committee he would have more to announce shortly. We have worked a good deal on this issue, and we will have more to announce shortly, he testified. An earlier bill, Bill C-36, an act to amend the criminal code, there it is, we all suspected
It's
it,
hate speech. Yep.
was introduced June 23rd, 2021, but lapsed in the last parliament, i.e. when Justin Trudeau prorogued parliament and called a snap election in the middle of, I don't know, what was it, the sixth wave of COVID-19, where he campaigned on the wedge issue of people's vaccination status. Yeah, there it is. Hate speech is forbidden under 1970 amendments to the criminal code. Bill C-36 went further in proposing to ban as hateful any legal content
Legal.
likely
So this
to
is
foment detestation or vilification under threat of $70,000 fines.
Yeah, this is the criminalization of being critical of your politicians is really what this is about. This is not to protect any marginalized group, although I don't think marginalized groups should be protected from criticism, by the way. But this is about our politicians, because who are you sending the mean tweets to? Well, mainstream media probably, but also the politicians. And that's what this seeks to criminalize. They point out that this is legal content. So not things that are threats to commit violence or threats of genocide or anything like that. It's not that. It is legal content. So criticisms. And these criticisms are likely to foment detestation. So dislike. That's what detestation means. If your tweet might cause others to dislike Justin Trudeau as much as I do, that could have you end up being slapped with $70,000 in fines.
And we all called it.
Bucks? I know.
We all called that this was coming, that this would just be reintroduced with the new sitting. And now that Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh have this unofficial coalition between the two of them, bills like this are likely to be rammed through, as we've seen already with Bill C-11, for instance. And they're so ambiguously worded. That's kind of the thing that I continue to recognize with liberal-minded and liberal imposed legislation, is that it is so ambiguously worded that is open to interpretation. And we never really know, like there's not a clear in stone way that these pieces of legislation can be implemented. And that's what makes it really concerning, because it can be willy-nilly imposed or maybe not. And who is actually liable for a fee of this magnitude or a fine of this magnitude? It's really up to the debate of the administrating this legislation. And that gets into all the nitty-gritty of how we've disregarded the legal checks and balances and gave the authoritative power to the legislative state. Bruce Pardy, lawyer and professor, talks in depth about this and how dangerous it is for people who actually want to follow law and order, because the law and order is no longer being clearly defined. It's just being willy-nilly put out there, and it's open to the interpretation of the people meant to be enforcing it.
Well, and I think it has also another effect. So not only are the $70,000 fines going to hammer critics, and do you get that per tweet? Do you get that per day? Poor criticism? Like, what if I put two mean things about Justin Trudeau and a third one about Rosie Barton all in the same tweet because Elon Musk gave me more characters? Am I on the hook now for $210,000? How does that work? Or here's the real thing that's going to happen. maybe I just won't tweet that mean thing at all. And now I've self-censored myself. I've cut out my own tongue instead of forcing the government to do it on my behalf. And I think that is the really sinister thing, is when, again, like what the trans activists want to do to the Catholics, when you force somebody else to violate their own conscience, what a narcissistic thing to do, and what a horrible power to wield over another person. I think that's what's more likely to happen. We won't see a ton of these $70,000 fines. We'll just see a more boring vanilla world where you can't criticize the powers that be.
The rest of this article is also pretty good. There's a quote here from Rodriguez who says, "Online hate, as you know, doesn't stay online. It makes its way into the street. It makes its way into real behavior. We have seen that here. We have seen that in Washington." I'm guessing that he is referring to the Capitol riots that happened in January of, what year was that? 2021?
2020.
2020. My years over the COVID narrative just kind of meshed into.
Or no, maybe it is 2021. I don't know. The insurrection.
It was 2021.
Anyway.
Yeah.
2021. Yeah. So after it was, yes.
Online hate is real hate. That's real behavior. We are coming up with something very shortly. Like this reads like a thinly veiled threat.
Well, and then the Trudeau quote at the bottom: "The government believes in free speech, but." So not, actually you don't then. If you say but, then anything that came before that is just like in the garbage can. But with social media, there is a new way to foment anger and hate that is different from anything we've seen before. Difficult to counter, and it's destabilizing our democracy. Well, you know what democracy needs? More censorship, right, Justin?
Yeah, it's the reversal of the natural order. So Justin Trudeau says one thing and then he does another, or vice versa. It's politicians speaking out of both sides of their mouths. Classic example right there with Trudeau. All right. We had one last video from Mark Gerritsen. I don't know, Sheila, do we want to touch on that before we wrap things up?
Let's just show it real quick. Real quick, and then I've got to jump off because I've got to host for Ezra.
Yes.
But we must show Mark because, just when I think, Seamus O'Regan is one of the dumbest people in Parliament, or maybe it's Omar Al-Jabra, Mark Gerritsen just pokes his head up and he's like a whack-a-mole. If he's not saying stupid things on Twitter, then he's saying stupid things in the House of Commons, and he's just a highly unintelligent person. And I can't believe the Liberals let him talk. But maybe his idiocy distracts from Justin Trudeau's stupidity. So there might be a game plan here. I just don't see it. But let's listen to him on the issue of foreign interference. I think the Chinese had something to do with that shirt, tie, jacket combo too. That's really bad. Anyway, let's go.
The Leader of the Opposition has said on a number of occasions that he doesn't want to receive and learn about the classified information because he doesn't want to be silenced. Yet he has members of his caucus, the member from Bruce Grey Owen Sound, for example, that has those security clearances, has received those briefings through NSICOP, and has participated in multiple debates in this House on foreign interference. Is it true that the Leader of the Opposition is really concerned about being silenced, or is it more so that he would rather be willfully ignorant?
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Madam Speaker, the former. We know that if the Prime Minister had his way, he'd bring me into a room, he'd drop a bunch of paper in front of me, much of which would already be public knowledge, and he'd mark it secret. And then, if I went out into the world and spoke about similar subject matter, then he would say I violated the rules of national security. I know exactly what he's up to. And that is why I will continue to do my job, which is Leader of the Opposition, to hold him accountable. I will not be silenced. This is Canada, and in Canada we have the freedom of expression.
Whoever made that clip put the tinfoil hat
on the wrong guy.
Yeah. I was going to say, imagine being someone who thinks that having robust, independent scrutiny of foreign election claims in your nation qualifies someone as a tinfoil hat-bearing conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. People who want more transparency, those are the tinfoil hat people. Listen to the wild way in which Pierre Poilievre believes intelligence briefings from a G7 country and a member of the Five Eyes Alliance takes place. This man believes he is qualified to be prime minister, and then his head exploded. But I think his head exploded a very long time ago. His brain just jumped out and fell on the floor. The man is not bright. If you go to his Twitter account, it's just Canadians rolling him up into a carpet and throwing him into a ditch day after day after day. And he continues to tweet, and I don't know why, but I don't even tweet him anymore because it feels cruel.
Well, and under Bill C-36, Sheila, perhaps you'd be fined $70,000 for doing so.
You know what, Tamara, you and I will start a prison band. It'll be fine.
That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.